you, Krista. I am Pam Lovelace, District 13, a counselor for Hamilton Plains St. Margaret's, and I'll be chairing this evening. So I'll call this meeting to order at 7:04. Apologies for the slight delay. I hear a dog barking.
Oh, yes. The minute I turn on anything, sorry.
Thank you, Counselor. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the Peace and Friendship Treaty signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. I'll just do a quick roll call to make sure that everyone's here. Counselor Lisa Blackburn, do you have a dog barking in the background?
Not at this particular moment, but it could happen at any time when my microphone is on. So,
thank you. Deputy Mayor Kathy Daigle-Gammon, how about you? Is your puppy barking?
He might be. He's at home in Fall River. I'm at City Hall still. So, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Councillor Paul Russell, great to have you. What is happening in your background?
Good evening from Sackville. I'm sorry, but there's a fire happening and I'm sitting in a fire truck this evening.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so not a dog barking, but there might be other noises.
There might be some other noises there. Very good. And Councillor Oathett, great to have you here with us. Looks like we've got full house.
My dogs were barking at the fire truck.
Thank you. And Megan Carlson, our solicitor, is here with us.
Good evening.
Good evening. And Thea Langell. Thea is here with us tonight as well.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. And Craig Parker, how are you doing? Craig is a co-host.
He's our AV tech person this evening.
Okay, great. Well, good to have you here, Craig. Thank you. Excellent. Well, colleagues, moving forward then, I'll call for a vote, please, on the approval of minutes. I'm wondering if any members have errors or omissions for the March 18th, 2024 minutes. If not, I'll call for a motion on that, please, and a seconder.
I'll move the acceptance of the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Deputy Mayor Daigle-Gammon, thank you. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. That motion has carried. Next, we have the approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. So, Madam Clerk, are there any additions or deletions this evening?
There are no additions or deletions from the clerk's office.
Councilors, what do you have? Do you have any additions, any changes? No, we're all good. Excellent. So I'll move, call for the question and ask for a mover and a shaker.
Yeah, pick one.
Councillor Russell has moved and Councillor Blackburn has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That has carried as well. So now we have an order of business. Beautiful. Business arising out of minutes, there are none. So I'll call for a declaration of conflict of interest if there are any, and there are none. So moving on, motions of reconsideration, motions of rescission, consideration of deferred business, notice of tabled matters. So just for folks at home, those are real things. And sometimes, very rarely, they pop up, but this evening we have none. Tonight we do not have a public hearing, but we do have correspondence. Madam Clerk?
The clerk's office has not received any correspondence or petitions for any of the matters.
So we have no correspondence, no petitions, but we do not have presentations from staff, but we do have public participation, Madam Clerk. So I have a list here of a couple of people that have signed up to speak this evening. And the first person I have is Deb Follett from Sackville. Is Deb on the line with us?
She is. I was going to say we were in the process of promoting.
That's wonderful. We also have Adam McQuarrie. Adam. So we'll begin with Deb and Adam. And those are the only two names I have here. So since this meeting has taken place virtually, residents are required to register in advance of the meeting with the clerk's office. And today we have two registered speakers. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to speak, and the clerk will give you a little bit of a heads up, Deb and Adam, just to give you a kind of a wave that you've got 30 seconds left. And then when your time is up, And so you have 5 minutes, Deb. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. I see you've already unmuted, so you're ready to go.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for having me this evening. I had wanted to come and just voice my concerns over what's happening in my community. I'm in Lower Sackville, so I know Councillor Russell, we've spoken on the phone before. I was concerned with respect to what's happening with the Beacon House shelter that is operating at 125 Metropolitan Avenue. I think there's significant concerns that I'm feeling, and I know my community is feeling as well. The main concern being that Beacon House is operating a 24/7 harm reduction shelter in a school zone. And so I was really hoping to kind of bring attention to that. There are significant risks, I feel, with respect to what's currently happening. There are community members who are doing public needle sweeps, and my understanding is that to date, starting from March the 6th, I believe, is when they started, there's been 25 needles that have been found, along with other drug paraphernalia in the area. Certainly, there's concern there. I have done quite a bit of research looking around in terms of where are these harm reduction shelters? Are there any, I guess, how are they able to operate? Are there situations where they can be moved? My understanding is that at this point, there is no plan to move this shelter. And I do really think that this is something that needs to be brought forward. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with regards to supports for people who are actually housed there currently. And there's been a great deal of trouble getting any specific information with regards to that. Beacon House did hold a community session on the 15th of February, and there was a great turnout. I wasn't one of the people who was allowed in. That was due to fire regulations. And my understanding is that a second meeting would be happening. That then kind of there was a pause on that. And what happened afterwards, I guess, is that they just decided that they weren't going to hold any kind of a public meeting, and instead they would have an email that was set up. I have, along with many other people, had sent in questions into them. And from March the 21st is when I sent them, and there's still been no response. And I just think that it's irresponsible of somebody who is supposed to be providing services in this area to not be speaking with the public. I think that's part of one of the issues here, is that nobody is talking to the people who are expected to help these people and provide supports. Beacon House has been a great provider in our community for a really long time. And so I'm certainly concerned that they are not willing to speak with the public. It's really unfortunate that people who are normally donating goods to them, I was certainly one of them. I donated everything to Beacon House, and because of the lack of communication, people aren't actually donating things, and who that's really going to hurt are the people who rely on their donations for food banks and things of that nature. I've been reaching out to as many people as I can to get some information, to try and have this be a positive experience that we can move forward. But I think it's really difficult for a community to kind of get behind this when nobody is speaking to us. I have spoken with Steve Craig. I've asked for DCS to for somebody to actually put some kind of a meeting together where the public can actually have their concerns addressed. And to date, none of that has happened. I had an email from Steve Craig today saying that wasn't in the works. I said, oh, my mistake. I actually was hoping that you could request that. And he said that that's actually not happening. So, what our community is left with is a situation where there are high acuity people mixed with low acuity people. There's not been much discussion with regards to the pallet shelters. And so there's 51 people when they're at max capacity in this area that's in a school zone, and there are concerns and nobody is speaking to anybody. And I don't know if this is the right forum for me to bring this forward, but I thought this is as good a place as any to start. So I'd be really interested to know other people's feedback and thoughts on how we can productively move this forward. How can we get this community behind this? Because it's concerning and people are frightened. People are nervous to use parks. And I don't know if that's necessarily something that is valid or not. And it's
Second.
unfortunate because nobody knows these things because there's nobody talking to us. So that's what I'm bringing forward here today. So I'd be really interested on other people's thoughts or comments on it.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you for bringing forward your comments and your feedback. Normally what happens is members of the public come in and they give a presentation, have 5 minutes. If there are any questions or comments from counselors, but I do not see any questions or comments. So I do want to thank you very much for.
I think Mr. Russell has his hand up.
Oh, I'm looking in the chat, Counselor.
Sorry about that.
I'm used to looking in the chat. I didn't see your little hand.
No worries.
Counselor Russell, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It is a concern. I've seen all sorts of the social media posts, and I've received calls and I've received emails about it. There have been conversations happening within the province. I have not been privy to a lot of those conversations, but they are happening. Steve met with DCS and others within the province late last week. This is an agreement between DCS and Beacon House. It is not something that the councillors have had a hand in or have been made aware of. My colleagues found out about it as early as I did, which was when it became public. And so what I am doing is trying to work with Steve and work with Beacon House to do what we can to make the situation as safe as possible, and barring the ability to make it safe, I'm going to see what other types of changes can be made so that the community can be made good again.
I think the biggest issue, if I may, is that nobody is speaking to the community. There's not a public spot that people can go for information. I had high hopes that Beacon House was actually going to do that. They had indicated that they would put a Q&A, like an FAQ, on their website on the 21st of March when they had opened up that email address, and they haven't posted anything up there. I was very specific in my questions, which I forwarded to you, and I understand that you forwarded on to DCS because Beacon House emailed me today and said, now that these questions have gone to DCS, we will wait for them to reply. And I said, in fact, actually, my questions, I didn't send them to DCS, that you and I had spoken, that I'm assuming that you had sent those questions on to DCS, and that these were questions that I had asked to them and that I would very much like a reply from them. I mean, when you look at.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next speaker.
Right.
I want to thank you very much for your engagement and advocating for your community. And I know that Councillor Russell will continue to communicate with you. And certainly when he receives answers back from DCS, he'll notify the community. We'll keep this conversation going. Again, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us this evening. Thank you. We're going to move on to Adam McQuarrie. Thank you so much. Am I saying your name right? Is it McQuarrie or McQuarrie?
McQuarrie, yeah.
McQuarrie, excellent. Well, thank you so much. And you have 5 minutes. And our clerk, Krista, will kind of give you a wave and a little notice that you're at 30 seconds.
Go ahead. Well, thank you so much, Deputy Mayor and councillors, for having me this evening. I'm coming to you in my capacity as the head coach of the Tri-County Rangers 11U AAA program. And just a bit of background on Tri-County. We provide competitive baseball opportunities for athletes from Bedford, Sackville, Fall River, Lakeview, Waverly. So we draw our athletes from the Sackville Minor Baseball Program, the Bedford Minor Baseball Program, and the LWF Minor Baseball Program. And I've been given the unique task starting this year for the next 9 years, and I'm going to have the AAA program with Tri-County all the way from 11U to 18U. And what I'm hoping to do is address a big issue in baseball in this province, and try to create kind of a proof of concept or a test case for the development opportunities that could be made happen if we can build some community support around our programs. And so looking around the province, we do struggle with development for baseball athletes. We are certainly limited in our indoor spaces, and we very much need those. As you know, we're not an all-weather sport. We really only can rely on the grace of good weather and the dryness of our fields if you want to get outside. And so development is sparse unless you have the financial resources to do so. And so what I'm hoping to do is remove that financial obstacle from a lot of families and give them the opportunity to experience some really high-level development over the next few years, use it as a test case for the remainder of Tri-County. And so really all I wanted to do tonight was just introduce myself and introduce our program. I've been speaking with Councillor Blackburn over the last month or so, so she's been a good partner for me already. And just first of all, even introducing me to this venue, and also giving me some good feedback on some of the things I have in mind so far. So what I really want to do is have a meeting with the councillors that are here tonight that represent the constituents from the pool of athletes that I draw from, and see what's possible in terms of building a partnership and really developing some opportunities for those constituents to experience a little bit more high-level baseball, high-level development, and see what's possible there. So how am I doing for time? If I have 2 minutes, there is one other thing I'd like to add if I can.
2 minutes, 29 seconds.
That's great. So just on the topic of baseball development, there is an organization in our community. It's located at 79 First Lake Drive. It's called the Warehouse. And some of you may know that we're losing the Warehouse because that property is being repurposed. And the struggle those folks are having is that they need a certain space, a certain size. And what they don't want to do is in 2 or 3 years be evicted once again. And so they're looking at a nonprofit option, hopefully a piece of land somewhere in our community. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that if we lose this resource in our community, it probably goes to Halifax, it probably goes to Dartmouth, and those athletes will benefit. But what's allowing us to keep pace within our communities in terms of the competitiveness across baseball in the province is that we have this resource called the Warehouse. And so we are going to lose it on June 1st, and we're hoping for a speedy relocation. And so something I will want to talk about with you folks in the coming weeks is to see if there are any options to help those folks out. So unless there's any questions, I thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Adam. What a great, you're doing great work. Thank you so much. I don't see any hands up.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's Tim. And thank you for the presentation, Adam. You must know Bedford resident, my old friend Ken Lanahan, quite well, I would think. So.
Yeah, Ken is the guru of baseball in the province, and we're very lucky to have Ken as one of the leaders of our organization as a whole. I find myself, I'm a humble coach of just one team. Ken is one of the stars of the program for sure.
Well, I get a good lecturing from Ken every once in a while, and you probably know him too, Krista, when we need some money or some help for baseball. I'm not familiar with this Warehouse, and maybe others are, so I apologize. Can you tell me a little bit about who they are and who owns them and runs them? And
absolutely. So I think the overall business,
he can help with that. So maybe but
the overall business is Sports Wheels,
okay.
And so they are located in Lower Sackville. There's the First Lake Sobeys. They're right there. They're in the same complex. And so they offer, it's an indoor facility with, I think, 3 or 4 tunnels. I think they have 4 tunnels. So when I say a tunnel, I'm talking about a pitching machine area for a batting cage. But they train baseball athletes, cricket athletes, and softball athletes. So it's not just baseball. They do quite a bit in the community. And it's been great having them. And good coaches are able to use their facility to provide some private training for guys, and that's really where you see the development is for those that can afford to go in there and do that. The Warehouse provides the space, and then the coaches obviously have to have some remuneration.
I'll hear more from Paul about that, and thank you. But if it's
a
for-profit organization, we probably can't, as councillors or municipality, give them money. So we'll have to see what Paul has to say. But thanks very much for A, for being here, but also B, for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Really appreciate it. I think there'll probably be some follow-up with you. Thanks for coming today. Oh, there's a question from our deputy mayor. Hang on a sec. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Hello, Adam. Nice to meet you. I've heard your name a little bit from my very good friend Barry Dalrymple with LWF Baseball.
Oh,
So,
great. Hopefully good things, I hope.
Pardon?
Good things, I hope.
Always good things. Is it possible? So, is your request to meet with the five of us? And in advance of that meeting, is there an opportunity, Adam, that you can just do a sort of a one-pager when you give us the request to meet, just so that there's a little bit of background? And then just on top of that, I mean, will people like Kenny and Barry be at this meeting? All of the groups that make up the Tri-County?
So first, I have a letter prepared, and I'm going to send it to all of you tomorrow.
Okay.
And it will outline a bit of background. Lisa has looked at it. Thank you. And so that should answer most of your questions. Ken and Barry will not be there tomorrow. This is something that's being led by me. I'm leading this for this program in particular, and I want to use this as kind of a proof of concept for what could be done with the right support. And so consider this a test case.
Okay.
Test case.
I apologize. The sound is a little bit difficult, so I'm sure that when I read the invite, I'll get what I need. Thanks.
Yes, we'll get the letter and then we'll follow up. And I know Councillor Blackburn is following this very closely. So thank you, Adam. Thank you for being here with us tonight, and we'll be following up with you. Look forward
so
to
much.
getting your email.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, we are moving on to item 13, information. I'm sorry, my cat is on my desk. Information items brought forward, there are none. 14.1, we do have staff reports. 14.1 Plan App 2022-00382. This is a development agreement for 1562 Sackville Drive, Middle Sackville. This is former case 24327 for those following along with their bingo card, I guess. We don't actually have a presentation from staff tonight. However, we do have Daryl, Journey Planner 2 with us. Should council have any questions on the report? And seeing Madam Clerk, we have the applicant represented by John Dibb, W.M. Barrett, also present this evening. Should there be any questions from Community Council? So I will ask the member to throw this motion on the floor.
I think that would be me, Madam Chair.
To you,
I would like to move that Northwest Community Council give notice of motion to consider the proposed development agreement as set out in Attachment A of the staff report dated March 13th, 2024, to develop a 6-story residential multiple unit dwelling, 98 units, and schedule a public hearing. I still move.
I'll
Thank
second that.
Seconded by Councillor Russell. Thank you so much, Councillor Blackburn.
Thank you. Just to put a little bit of context around this, because we'll get a full presentation in the public hearing at a later date. But this is a development project that is slated for next door to Atlantic Gardens, right on Sackville Drive, pretty much at the intersection of Sackville Drive and Margison Drive. The applicant has already made some big changes to this. Including moving the driveway completely off of Sackville Drive and putting it in off of Bambrick, which is going to make a huge difference. But anyway, looking forward to the conversation and discussion when we get to the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Do we have a question from Councillor Russell? Yes.
Thank you. That area has been noted to have a wetland in it. And when we receive the presentation or the discussion a little bit later on, it would be nice to see or to hear how anything related to that has been mitigated. That's it.
No. Duly noted. Did you want to have staff comment on that? Councillor Theolangelo could speak on behalf of staff. No,
it's not necessary right now, but I'd like to hear it when we have have second reading or the yeah.
Thank you. Duly noted. I don't see any other comments on this, so I'll call for the question, colleagues. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion has carried. So very good. Moving on to motions, we have none. There is no in-camera items this evening, and we do not have added items. So notices of motion. Who's going to notice of motion for us tonight? Any takers? There are no takers. My goodness. Staff will be happy about that. So the date of our next meeting is May 27th, 2024. Call for an adjournment.
Thank you,
Motion
Madam
to
Chair.
adjourn.
Everybody wants to adjourn.
Thanks all.